Alright, you guys, welcome back to the gym. My name is Jay Cruz. You're watching Threefold Fitness. Today we are reviewing the Prime Fitness Functional Trainer Standalone, just the functional trainer. As you can see, kind of like in selfie mode here. I don't have a camera person today, so we'll be doing this whole review handheld and, you know, kind of just up close and personal. So, a few things. Let's get some things out of the way real quick. So the weight stacks on this thing, actually the whole thing, it weighs about 1,000 pounds. So when we got it delivered, we had to move it. Let me show you real quick. We had to move it from this side of the gym over here, and then we got it from about the basketball court space right there. We got it to only there because my floor is not glued down. So when we rolled it, the weight from it, being 1,000 pounds, pushed all the rubber and it rolled it and bunched it up. So it was like really hard to roll over. So anyways, what we did was we rolled it up to that point and figured out, hey, this is way too heavy, being 1,000 pounds. And what we did was, let me show you, we took it apart right here from the sides and we made it 500 pounds each. And then we moved it to this space. What I recommend to you guys is if the FedEx person, UPS, they've used FedEx so far all the time, make sure it goes to the place where you need it right away, like as close as possible, and they drop it. Because moving it from that distance is super, super, super difficult. So that's my recommendation. If you are in a basement, what I would recommend is to split the thing completely in half and remove all of the weights, because it's too heavy to bring downstairs, it's too heavy to navigate downstairs, you're gonna end up hurting yourself or damaging the equipment. Let's get a little closer personal. Let's talk a little bit about the features of this thing. So you guys saw the previous review on the HLP Selectorized Rack, sorry. And it's pretty much the same exact thing, minus the rack. So the rack is the only thing that would be different. On this thing though, the stack is actually a different size. It is 265 pounds each, where the other one it is 2 350-pound stacks. And just like the other one, this one has this cool rail guide, so that makes sure that your trolley goes up and down the rail very smooth. It has articulating arms. That's what makes it different from the HLP rack. It has 9 horizontal adjustments and 15 vertical adjustments. And here they are. Now this thing here is so smooth because of the counterbalance. You can do it literally with one hand and it goes to where you need it to go. It takes zero effort. If you ever used the ones with the trolley, it takes a little bit more effort and it's a two-handed process. So that's one thing I love about this, is that it's very easy to move. This one is the same thing. You lift this up and it pretty much moves on its own. Everything is well made, as always, from Prime. All right, let's move this back up. Other things about it, Prime always does this with most of their equipment when possible, is they add extra space so that you can store whatever it is that you're using. For us, we use mostly just these cause handles, and then we use a Vulcan double loop strap. Other features on this, we just talked about the railing, but let's actually talk about the railing. So just like the HLP Selectorized Rack, it has this rail guide that each rail is fully encompassed with wheels, or these rollers, so that when it goes up and down, these rollers, they go along with the rail. Now this one only has one on one side, but it still does the same thing, and I think it's just as smooth. Like I think the reason why it only has one is because it didn't need to, but it works really well with just one, and it smoothly goes up and down. Now, I'm sorry to break it to some of you guys, but you have a bad functional trainer when you see this piece right here. This is what the weight gets pinned to when you put the pin in. And if you're on a bad machine, this thing will wobble back and forth like this. the whole time you're using it, and you hear it like clanging and banging when it goes up and down. On this, if you look at it, it doesn't move. It goes right back to where it's supposed to be at, in the same position every single time. And that's what contributes towards the smoothness of the rail and pulley system. And that's what I love about this. The other thing about this that's different from the Selectorized Rack is that it has the add-on weights right here. So the first increment right here, if you can see, it's 10 pounds. And then it goes to 30 at the very next one. But that's what these are for. So now you can go from 10 to 15 to 20 to 25 before you go to the very first incremental jump to 30. And then from 30, you can go 35, 40, 45 before you get to 50. You get the idea. It is a smooth, linear, non-jumpy increments all the way up to 250. If you don't have this, you will need to add on the gym pin in order to add on extra weights in between. But this makes it convenient. Therefore, anybody, whether you're a beginner athlete or whether you're an advanced athlete, it's plenty of weight, 265 pounds, in order for you to use this machine. Another thing about this is that it is set at a 45-degree angle, actually just shy of a 45-degree angle, so you can stick it into a corner. The good thing about this is that when you articulate the arms like this, this is fully open. So at 45 degrees, it's just under 45 degrees, so you can use the full arm all the way to the wall. Minus, if you get right here, you can see that there's probably about, six inches or so on the outside that you'd have to leave it away from the wall, because the 45, it's not a 45, it's like maybe 42. And then there's a couple of degrees here, but you have to leave it away from the wall just a little bit. But it gives you a lot of space still, and you maximize your space the most when you have it in the corner. But what I've found is that if you're going to use this with 2 people, you actually want more than just this corner space, because I have this corner space, but then I also have the deadlift rack, deadlift platform right here, and I have the GHD over here, and they get in the way. But for the most stuff that we do, we don't need that much space. But if you're someone planning on using it with 2 people and doing a lot of functional stuff where, a little bit too heavy, functional stuff where you're going to have a handle on here like this, and you're going to do pull stuff that goes like this, and do actual what you see some people do with functional trainers, then you're going to want it against a flat wall so that you have more space left to right. Because right now, when this is down here, you can see there's about 2 feet of space between here and this wall. But if you want to actually use this space that way and someone wants to use that space on that side, I would recommend putting it flat against the wall for more space, for maximal space. Okay, let's talk about build a little bit. So far, both the other machines that I've talked about, the build quality is amazing. This one is no slouch at all in that department. If you look at the way that these arms are welded, everything is smooth like I just showed you. This can be adjusted with one hand, no problem, and it's not an issue. And then this can also be adjusted this way, very easy and smoothly. If you want to know if this is just as smooth or smoother than the Selectorized Rack, I would say that they are pretty much mostly the same. This one I found though is smoother in that when you put weight on it, because it's less weight total in the stack, it just feels smoother. It's not really, I don't know how to describe the difference in smoothness, but it is smoother, but they're both really smooth. So in that department, neither one of them really beats out the other one. You wouldn't get this one because it's smoother, because they both work really well. So let's talk about then what you would get this for, as opposed to getting the functional trainer attached to a rack, whatever brand that may be. This is probably going to be your number one reason right here. The horizontal adjustments that you can do. So the other one is a 43-inch rack, so I would say it's about right here. And that is at 6. Let's put these at the same height. G. Okay, so this is maybe a little bit more. Let's go one more. Let's just say this is the furthest out that you could put the other rack, which I think it's a little bit further than you can. Let me add this as well. So if you're going to use this thing and you're going to do any kind of flies and it's against that, let me show you guys real quick, because I keep showing you guys without, I keep gesturing over to this area over here, and it's because the rack is over there, and that's why I keep pointing to that direction. So if you were wondering why I kept like, oh, over there, it's because it's over there, that's why. So just wanted to show you that real quick. Anyways, so over there, when you're using it over there, this is about the distance that you can go. And it's a, you know, I could feel it in my chest. Whoa, I could feel it in my chest, right? But what if I want to actually have it feel like it's really pulling my pec to the fullest? Well, I can go all the way out here. And now the entire time, the tension is on my chest. Like that, no time does it release, because usually about right here is where the tension releases on the other rack, but this one, it gives you a way bigger extension. And I would say that I still have almost like a foot on each side of, what do I want to say? A foot of slack on each side. Whoa. A foot of slack on each side, so somebody that's taller than me, obviously it will help with them. Another thing about this one that is an advantage over the other rack is, even though the horizontal is good, the vertical goes so low, it almost touches the ground. So this is about 4 inches lower than the other rack. And then at its highest setting, this is about, I would say, 8 to 10 inches higher than the other rack. Even if you have an extension on the other rack, it's still going to be the same height, because the extension goes beyond the trolley, not below it. I think what you guys want to see is what you can do differently with this one, because that's what I would want to know. Like, so what makes it different? Why would I get this over the HLP rack? So let me go get a bench and I'll be right back. Okay, if you have that question of which one should I get for what reason, a lot of people will want to get a lat pull down because they want to do lat pull downs. You can do lat pull downs on this. The question will be, how heavy can you go? Because I know you guys, especially the DIYers, they have ways to hold themselves down and different gadgets that the DIY home gym people will make. But on this, if you have a wider grip, let me see what I can do. I'll put it on 110, so I'm actually doing 110. But you can still do like wide grip pull downs with this, like this, right? And then let's say it gets too, you want to get it to the point where it's really heavy. So we'll go to, let's go to 210 on each side. So 210 would be heavier than I am, because I'm like 201 to 199, somewhere between there. And like your question is like, how do I hold myself down? So if you're someone that's going to lift heavier than your own body weight, what I do for this instance is I get down and I actually loop my feet around the bottom to hold myself down. So that's how I would do it, but you probably could lift even heavier with better form if you're actually strapped down. So the second option would be, and I know people don't like doing this, but seat belting yourself to this chair and then taking plates like this and adding them to the seat so that the seat stays down, and then you just get like some sort of, I don't know, band or something like that and strap yourself down to the seat. That's how I would do pull downs. But the cool thing about what makes this different, okay? So let's say we know you can do pull downs. What makes this different is you can do super narrow without getting a bunch of different handles. You can still use, these handles, and now you can do narrow. Right in the middle of your narrow, you can turn it around, change your grip, front or back, whichever one you want. But then something that's a different stimulus to your muscle is going super wide, which you cannot do on the other one. And now you're doing extreme wide grip to where you're almost pulling into your body and down at the same time. So to hit your muscles in a different way, so you're getting a lot more stimulation with different positions. Now, how do you do rows? Well, you can still do rows on this. You just have to have a bench like this that has the feet in the front that will hold you back. You put this back at a good distance. Then see how easy this is? Look at this. It's so easy to move. And then once you get that into place, you use this foot stopper or the bottom. It's not a foot stopper. It's going to be a foot stopper for this application, but it is actually the foot for the bench. And you can just do your rows like this. And you could do pretty heavy like this, as long as you have this to hold you back. A couple of other things that I appreciate about Prime Fitness is that they pay attention to detail. One of those things is this little bar here. Now, at first glance, you think that this bar is just to like move this up and down, and that's what it's for. It's like the piece that you use to move this. But you can actually use this bar for support when you're doing exercises. If you're doing anything that's pulling, you can use this one to hold it and do your unilateral movement or whatever it is. Or if it's a little bit higher, you can just use it as support when doing tricep push downs. It's just something, it's just a point to grab onto for support, because usually the upright is right here next to the pulley, and a lot of people will grab that upright. Well, this takes the place of that upright, since there is no upright attached to this. Speaking of upright, the thing about this that's really good as well is that you can get right underneath the pulley, whereas you can't do that on the HLP rack either. You can't get right underneath of it to have like whatever movement you want right below it, or what I think is more important is being able to be right above the pulley. If it's going to be something like bicep curls, you can be right above the pulley in either direction, both forward and backwards. All right. Something else that they have on this is that these spin infinity spin, which means that no matter what angle you have, the cable is always going to be in the right position, but it also helps keep the longevity of the cable, because this thing allows it to the cable to freely spin in between the machine, no matter what position it's at. We've already talked about how good the manufacturing is. We've already talked about their attention to detail in terms of like just even their logo and the way that they placed all the numbering and stuff. What I do not like, stickers are okay. Like this sticker that goes on here, it's pretty good. The sticker's not going anywhere. It's like a functional trainer. Hey, here's potential exercises you could do. This one with the logo, this is fine too. It has like a little texture to it. It has a little gib. It's like almost like a 3D sticker. But the stickers on the vertical and horizontal adjustments, I do not like them. And the reason why I don't like them is because I feel like this space right here, this was hard for me to understand at first, but if your torso is perpendicular to this bar here, the numbers are not lined up directly to these holes. So whatever number, the curvature of the number is lined up with the pin, that's the one that you're on. Now, there are only 9 holes here, so you could eyeball it and you know exactly which one you're on this side without the numbers, and you know exactly where you're on this side without the numbers. But I feel like this could have easily they could have numbered it with laser cut right into this thing. I think that would have been pretty easy. And then also on this one, if you look at this one, it's numbered or lettered from A to O, and you can see which one it is. But guess what? If I put this on A, I know it's at the top setting because it's at the top setting, not because I can see it. What I feel like they should have done is 2 things. You could have made the sticker a little bit smaller so that it's inside the circle a little bit more tight, and then just laser cut a hole here so you can see which setting you're on. Right now you gauge it by this side or this side. So I'm either on B or I can be on F, whatever one that you feel like you want to label it as. I'm either on B or on F. If they just laser cut a hole here and then laser cut the letters into the center here, then you can see right there, right where you're at, very easily through the laser cut hole. I don't know whether that will mess with the integrity of this with a hole right here. I feel like it wouldn't, because this is super beefy, a lot of welds here, and this is a really thick piece of metal right here, so I don't think there's an issue. There should be an issue with that, but that is what I feel like could be improved. Again, Prime Fitness, the spaces that can be adjusted are the lime green. They have the green here, here. I guess the numbers are lime green, so it shows you where that's at. It can be adjusted, as well as the pin here, the weight pin. I feel like because that's the theme, these almost should have been lime green. I'm not complaining. I just feel like what I've become accustomed to is whatever's lime green can be adjusted. So I wouldn't initially think, because of Prime Fitness, that these would be adjustable like that. To sum it all up, what would you get this for as opposed to the HLP Selectorized stack? What's the difference? Why would you get this one over the other one? I would get this one over the other one because there are more positions that you could do functional type movements with. You can get a better stretch and wider space on any kind of fly movement. You can also get like plyo boxes in here or some sort of box and easily put that into the space. So you could do step ups or weighted step ups with the pulleys, which is a little bit more difficult in the other one. The thing that you can't do as good as you can on the HLP is you can do high-low pulls on that. That's why it's called HLP and not just a functional trainer standalone. This is great for functional training stuff. That is great for high-low pulley and some functional trainer stuff, but functional trainer proper, this is the one that you want to get. If you already have a rack, I wouldn't get the HLP, I would get this. If you don't have anything, I would recommend the HLP over this because you're getting a rack and a functional trainer in one and a high-low pull all in one. If you already have a rack, I would highly recommend this instead of replacing what you have to get the rack. Now, if you're trying to save space, obviously the rack functional trainer combo is the way to go because you can do literally everything on that. But if you already have a rack and you have the space, I highly recommend this. There's nothing, again, I hate to say that there's nothing broken about it or nothing imperfect that they have to absolutely fix. Other than the numbering and lettering, I think they could be better, but everything is great. Man, I don't know what else to recommend. If I missed anything, if there's anything else that you have questions about, please ask that, put in the comments. You guys have been so great about asking questions in the comments. I answer it as quickly as I can. Most of the time it's within 5 minutes to an hour, but I get back to you. I thank you guys so much for all of your engagement. For those of you that subscribe, thank you so much. If you like this video, like the video. And if you want me to do anything else or any other questions specifically about these two pieces, let me know because I answer the questions and I get the information to you as much as I know. I waited on this because I didn't have the sticker here and I thought I didn't want people asking questions like, oh, why don't you have the sticker on that side of the machine? I just didn't want to deal with that. So I waited for that, but I also used it a little bit to make sure I wasn't giving just some like quick first impression. But for the most part, it works like a functional trainer, but just better because there's articulating arms. All right, that is all for now. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in the next video.